Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. Hope you all are doing well. My name is Henrik Bick. I am the Communications and Content Manager for the Music Business Association. Happy to welcome you to the first of this fall's Common Ground webinar series sessions. Before we introduce our presenter and before we get things started, I just have a couple of quick Music Biz announcements and presentation notes for you. First off, if you are attending today, feel free to connect with one another through the chat function on your Zoom box. We've just opened up chat. Make sure to change your settings to everyone so that way everybody on the call can get to know one another, network, do all those types of things. Your default setting is host and panelists, so only myself and today's presenter will see it. So make sure you change it to everyone so we get those messages. We'll also be taking questions during a Q&A section of the webinar at the end today. So as questions come up, feel free to drop them in the dedicated Q&A box on your Zoom dashboard. And we will get to those at the end of today's presentation. In case you missed the announcement earlier this week, we just shared the dates and first details for Music Biz 2024. Our annual conference is returning to the JW Marriott Nashville next May 13th through the 16th. That's Monday through Thursday. As of right now, online, you can register ahead of time to get your badge for the event. You can book your hotel room. Reach out for meeting rooms and suite options if you'd like to conduct private meetings on site at the JW, and also learn more about sponsorship opportunities during the conference. You can find all of this information and more via musicbiz.org or musicbiz2024.com. I'll be dropping that information in the chat later for you all. And be sure to stay tuned to our website and our social channels. On socials, we are at musicbizassoc, ASSOC. For announcements upcoming about our Call for Presentations program to source the educational material for Music Biz 2024, as well as opening nominations for our third annual Busy Awards program, which will take place during the conference as well. While you're on our website, musicbiz.org, you'll see a section devoted to webinars. We'll be talking about today's session, but also the rest of our fall series. We just confirmed our final webinar for December 7th, hosted by BandLab. And if you visit musicbiz.org today, you can find out information for all the free webinars we're hosting now through December. Register them for free and learn more about our next upcoming session, which will be in 2 weeks, hosted by music data analytics firm Viberate. But now, moment of truth. We're really grateful to have Song Sleuth here today to talk about UGC content opportunities. And from the Song Sleuth team, my colleague and friend Ibrahim Maali is here. Ibrahim, take it away.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and a pleasure to be here with you all today and discuss this exciting world of user-generated content. We are thrilled to have you here, share our knowledge, and hopefully discuss these opportunities together. So with that, let us begin. Hopefully everybody could see my screen. Panning for gold. Awesome. So, who are we? Song Sleuth is a technology and rights management company that is dedicated to really analyzing and solving these multitude of problems in user-generated content today, the ones that we are aware of now and the ones that we will become aware of as the days go on. I am your host, Ibrahim Maali, our CTO here at Song Sleuth, and we will discuss, learnings today that we have seen in the prior few years, really focusing on this problem. So, looking ahead to our conversation, we'll be looking at, what are the definitions of UGC as we view them, perhaps, a little bit of why it's so important for a rights holder, for an artist to think about these things. And not only that, but really the broader industry to consider user-generated content as a key piece, a key pillar of our industry's data and our industry's usage that should be factored into all of our discussions. What are the challenges as we see them today? And I'm sure many folks here are well aware of some of those. And really, the piece that we get excited about is the gold, the opportunity. And for many folks, I think we've seen surprise, including on our own team, at how much gold is really out there left in these minds of social media. And to bring it back down to earth, what does that look like for a typical songwriter? And how meaningful is this for our friends and colleagues who are composing and creating the amazing music that enlivens our daily existence? So we hope our work can help contribute to that in a different way. And that brings us to the final section, which is how can our work and the work of many others in this industry be that contribution for the songwriters and for the musicians that we all know and hold so dear. So to begin, let's first answer the question, what is UGC, user-generated content? Now, there are many broad and sometimes conflicting definitions to this. And so I wanted to narrowly focus on user-generated content as fan-uploaded content that is distinct from your typical experience of a song. And so, as you all might be aware, there's a plethora of content on YouTube and other social media platforms where folks are just using a standard version of the performance outright. And then there are other versions, and I'm sure the types of examples are too many to name here, but the ones that stand out in our minds are things like live recordings, cover songs, tutorials, remixes, mashups, sped up, slowed down versions. These are all things that take advantage of a composition or of a sound recording in a way that makes it unique and special to the particular user uploading it, or to the fans who are watching. And really, what's important to note here is this is the type of content that people come to social media for. Anybody can go find the officially distributed version of a song on Spotify or Apple Music, etc. But when you're looking for a remixed version from your favorite DJ or a particular Spanish language cover that really resonated with you, the only place to find that is on social media. And this is where we put our focus. And so why is this important? As many of you are probably aware, UGC is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity. On YouTube alone, if you read the latest YouTube music reports, UGC accounted for about 30% of the $6 billion in music royalties that YouTube paid out last year. And that percentage has grown year over year for the past decade or more. Not only that, because of the many macroeconomic trends that we see in the market today, that proportion of user-generated content we expect to continue to grow well into the next decade. And there have been certain research conducted by economic research firms and people who really are studying the trends in this industry to indicate that growth rate is quite significant, upwards of 30%. And so where we see perhaps a small proportion relatively of UGC volume today, one would expect that proportion to grow significantly over time. And what are those trends in the market that I was referencing earlier, right? First and foremost is the continued ubiquity of smartphones in the marketplace. And not only that, cheap and accessible data plans. And not only that, the return of live music and performances to our lives post-pandemic, where we notice audiences are particularly excited to record and share their experiences at their favorite shows on social media as a benefit to their friends, to their audiences, and to showcase the return of live music and our excitement for it. Additionally, you also have the rise of more production techniques, what we call the ability to the bedroom producers to create and distribute content easily, much more easily than it has been in the past, even from their mobile devices. There are many apps today that you can retrieve the audio and make edits live, post it back to social media, And that is happening at a scale that's never before been seen, and continues to grow. The third major trend is on particularly the ability for users to continue to post the same content on multiple platforms. Whereas before, YouTube has been around since 2005, many years before Instagram, for instance, came on the market, and TikTok. The ability to leverage that multi-platform sharing is relatively novel, and we would expect that to continue in the years to come. So not only is this an opportunity now that's very significant, but as the market continues to mature, we definitely see this becoming more important. Which brings us to the gold. I've already mentioned that UGC accounts for about 30% of YouTube's $6 billion in annual royalty payments, and so based on that, you can probably extrapolate for other social media platforms how significant user-generated content can be. I know many who follow the Music Biz blog are probably aware that Facebook recently launched a monetization initiative on UGC. And then, we would expect the same to come on other platforms as well. Many people who have studied the market dynamics today put the market at a total of about 45 billion in digital copyright exploitations. And that, again, is growing at double-digit rates over the years. 45 billion is the kind of totality of that market size as it's been estimated right now. Based on what we know from YouTube reporting and what we know from other social platforms, there's about probably 4+ billion in untracked royalties today. Now, where does this number come from? Our experiences thus far, finding and claiming things on behalf of our partners, and the volumes that are involved there. We all are also probably well aware that the MLC and other PROs are sitting on hundreds of millions in black box royalties that are not distributable because of the number of data and identification reasons. And then, there are also issues of fraud and misaccounted, misattributed royalties that all contribute to that top line number. YouTube alone, based on just the data that we've seen thus far, we conservatively estimate that scale of problem to be right around the $400 to $500 million mark. And again, as those market trends continue, we would expect that to grow pretty significantly. And our hope is that if we take action soon enough, we can head that off just a little bit. But what are those challenges, and why is this such a thorny problem to solve? First and foremost is that there are a number of technologies and identification methodologies today that are quite effective, which we must acknowledge, and that because of the acknowledgement as well from those same platforms that not everything can capture everything. There are manual claiming facilities as well, but those manual claiming facilities can be quite a hassle to deal with and very time consuming. So for organizations with myriad responsibilities, myriad locus of focus, that is a challenge to deal with at scale. Further to that, there are certain platforms where it is nigh impossible because of the tooling to make certain types of claims. For instance, as a publisher today on TikTok, how can you make a claim against a cover? It's forthcoming, we hope, but not something that's available today. And then the last and final point to reemphasize our previous discussion is the scale. The scale of this is truly something to behold. As you all are probably aware, hundreds of hours of video are uploaded to the YouTube platform every minute. And so if we think about that for a moment, there is just so much to go after. It is constantly changing, constantly evolving. we really must be, thinking of any solution as a solution that addresses that scale. And so those are some of the major challenges that we need to consider. Luckily, there are some solutions. Now, our technology, as I mentioned, is primarily focused on this problem. How do we find this content, first and foremost, at scale? And how do we identify it and make it actionable, make it monetizable for the songwriters at the end of the day? That's 100% of where we put our energy. And we want to recognize that there are players in the space, including YouTube's own systems, such as Content ID, that are making valiant efforts to address this issue. We offer technology such as ours. We've developed our technology to be a supplement to these things, to help fill in gaps that we've noticed, that some of our rights holder partners have noticed, and continue to solve this problem in a collaborative manner with a new suite of technology that we can help bring to the market. And there is quite a lot of missing gold now. In the course of our work with our partners, we've seen that while Content ID is very effective and it is able to find thousands and thousands of items, some usually as they're uploaded, obviously, even Content ID's own reports will acknowledge things slip through the cracks. And as we've done our work, we've noticed that we are able to increase the number of claims overall, in addition to Content ID's work, by an extra 10% in most cases, sometimes more. And, that is, I think, barely scratching the surface. We know that the long tail is extremely, extremely long. And we know that, again, as users, uploaders continue to evolve their own content and upload novel creations, that there are probably things even today that most of us are unaware of, and more to come in the future. I mentioned the challenges of manual claiming in the past. Now, there are reasons for this, of course, and there are multiple steps involved in being sure that if something has not already been identified, the identification that you and I might be making within a CMS is accurate, complete, and is meeting the appropriate standards for making a claim. And so because of that, manual claims are usually few and far between. Obviously, things can go viral. There are teams that are very active in searching for these things and making these claims. And so we wanted to make sure that our technology was able to really supercharge that process. And so what I mean by supercharge is bring to bear our novel machine learning algorithms, bring to bear our team of music geeks and experts across multiple languages, and really ensure that we're able to do this at a scale that is, again, just taken to the next level. And so compared to a typical manual claiming throughput at rights holders that you see in YouTube or Meta, we increased that manual claiming capacity by up to 15x. And so, that's the level of efficiency that we hope to be able to help our partners with. Now, what does that mean? 15x and 10% of a lift. I'm sure many of you can do the math in your own heads to contemplate what that means for your business. But just for sake of scale here, that would mean that a large publisher with many thousands of composers and copyrights, it can be upwards of $5 million a year. And hopefully that is significant enough for all of us to pay attention and to address this issue. The graph at the left indicates kind of how our trends have been over time as we work with a client to understand their workflow, understand their system, and really provide that supplement, which is, as you notice within the graph, an increasing efficiency as we understand that and bring our technology, bring our expertise, bring our processes to bear through the course of our work together. I mentioned previously the long tail and the scale of the UGC problem. Now, any moderately savvy YouTube user among us here or Meta user can know how to go into the platform to find the trending content, to find the stuff that is going viral at the moment, and make a claim if it hasn't already been effectuated. But again, hundreds of hours of video are uploaded every minute. And so you can imagine that, yes, well, there are maybe dozens or hundreds of videos that are growing and accumulating views at quite a high rate, and that are fairly easy for all of us consumers to notice. There are many tens of thousands of videos that may be tailored to a niche audience or are not as popular, of course. Those are the ones that are, one, hard to find, and two, not necessarily economically viable to find and claim manually with an internal team or lacking technological assistance. And so how do you think about the value of those tens of thousands of videos that are only accumulating a few hundred views, perhaps a month? Now, when we analyze this over time, what we see is, of course, there are those, big swinger videos that are generating millions of views a month, and they account for a good chunk of the overall revenue. But majority of the videos are what we would call low growth. They fall into that category of making around 50 cents a month. That, when you do the math, is that worth an operational person's time to find and discover and maintain? That's debatable. If you can only capture a few of those, probably not. But when you're able to capture thousands of them every month, that revenue becomes meaningful. And if you are not capturing them, you could be leaving up to 50% of your unclaimed revenue on the table. That's something that, as an avid music fan myself, I can't stomach. I would like my favorite songwriters to receive everything that they're owed for the wonderful joy and inspiration that they bring into our daily lives. So, well, today it may not be financially sensible to go out and claim, maybe a few dozen, a few hundred videos at that low view growth rate. When you're able to accumulate them into the thousands, then it starts to get quite juicy. And the graph at the left is showing us the volume of videos by the average growth rate. So at the far left, you can see that videos below 1,000 views a month make up quite a significant proportion of the videos, and that really videos that are growing at less than 50,000 views a month still are, sometimes flying very much under the radar. But overall, that's where the juice is. That's where half of your revenue is, and that's the yellow line that you see trending across the screen. So I would hope, would not want to leave those on the table. And the goal is to capture as much of that as possible. And for what it's worth, I'll also acknowledge that we're well aware there are even lower growth videos of this type, which are yet to be captured. And these are some of the longest of the long tail that we would like to continue to refine technology for, to refine processes for, and ensure that we are getting everything that is owed. I attended a talk a few years back with Kevin Lyle, a well-known and experienced music executive for many years, founder of Def Jam and other significant music companies. He said in the early days, the music industry was a waterfall of cash. You sell a CD for $10 and it costs you 50 cents to manufacture. That was a golden age for the industry that I'm sure a number of folks here remember. Today's music industry, he likened to a river of nickels. Still voluminous, still very meaningful, but takes much more effort to collect all of those nickels. And those nickels are exactly what we're talking about here in this long tail and these low growth category of videos. This is what we really should be turning our attention to in today's more modern, digitized music industry. Now, one of the most remarkable things about this user-generated content opportunity is that it is something that is already occurring at a huge scale today. And not only are the uploads already happening en masse, but the viewership continues en masse. And it's been happening for a long time. It's quite consistent in its performance over that time. So, when we discuss the long tail, we're finding videos that are, go back almost to the inception of YouTube in 2005. And they've been undiscovered since that time. So we're really eager to make sure that we're out there and making these claims as prolifically as possible. Not only that, we've seen that videos in those later stages of their life cycle have a very consistent and predictable view growth over time. Now, there are probably many reasons for that, but a little bit about my own background as well. I spent about a decade in building recommendations and search algorithms for e-commerce companies. And I can tell you that after a certain point in a piece of content's life cycle, these algorithms have, quote unquote, found the audience for some of these pieces of content. And so it knows exactly to whom they should recommend this content and what content it's related to. So I think, just personally speaking, is one reason why that older UGC continues to perform at a very consistent rate. Of course, newer content, content that is recently uploaded, even within the first few years of its life cycle, is very much still in that exploratory phase. That's probably a big contributor to the pop and drop that many folks see when loading content for the first time. Novelty is of course in and of itself valuable, but it even once the novelty wears off, continues to have an audience over many years. And suffice it to say, we're still very excited for new videos, and we work to claim and identify that content as quickly as possible so that our partners can benefit from the full life cycle of that video. And so that's where products of ours such as LiveLink come into play, where we actively monitor artists on tour and look for recent uploads. I think just anecdotally, I'll share a quick story of our team's recent experience at Lollapalooza. As anybody who's been to a concert in recent years can attest, the volume of phones in the crowd at a festival or show is quite significant. And so, of course, from where we were in the audience, we saw many a camera phone capturing the moments, and we were quite excited to go back and see how quickly do those uploads occur. So coming home from the festival, we turned on the machine and typed in some of the performing artists, and we saw that almost 10,000 videos had been uploaded from Lollapalooza just that weekend. And of course, because of the nature of live music, the bands who were on stage, not present in the studio, the crowd singing along, the ambient noise. Many of those videos went unrecognized. And because of the quality, because of the users tuning in to see the special remix that Beyonce performed at SoFi Stadium in LA, those videos are gaining traction, but because they remain unidentified, no one is benefiting, sometimes not even the uploader. And so I speak to these things to say we need to be on top of this problem and constantly vigilant for new uploads, because not only do we want to capture this amazing long tail of historic uploads, we want to be there to find and capture stuff as it arrives onto the scene. And a tour or a festival is just a great example of that. And so what does this mean for a songwriter? We've done, some analysis to try to bring this back down to earth and show, for an individual, how much could be missing out there for them. And we took the case of a Billboard Top 100 songwriter. As you can see the metrics here, a significant amount of streams on traditional DSPs, but a significant amount of streams and views going unrecognized and unmonetized as well, to the tune of almost 3.5 million per month. And so, you can quickly do the math on that and realize that even with a pretty conservative $2 CPM on YouTube, that can mean almost $100,000 a year. That's meaningful. Now, I'll also share two other anecdotes that I think are pretty powerful for illustrating this and its importance for songwriters across the spectrum. First, I'll mention the story of a kind of legacy R&B band who we were fortunate to speak with not too long ago. This was a band that was quite popular in the late 90s and early 2000s. And they are still touring, they're still performing live. And when we showed them that we can find, an extra few thousand a month for them on YouTube, their eyes lit up and they said, wow, this is something that would allow us to really just spend more time with ourselves, with our families, and strike a better work-life balance. And for a musician that's been in the industry for that many years, you can imagine that it can be tiring. And so the ability to have that work-life balance is very significant. I'll also share the story of a friend of mine who is an up-and-coming musician and songwriter. This friend had written a few pieces of derivative content that became quite popular on social media a few years back. He is an artist that works, odd jobs and 9-to-5s in order to support himself and be able to spend his free time creating music. When I showed him in recent times that there was so much unclaimed UGC for him, he was probably missing out on about $1,000, $2,000 a month. It kind of clicked for him that were he able to actually capture this, were he able to know how his content inspired others as well, that would have been a great encouragement for him. Not only spiritually to know that he had touched so many people, but also financially, that he could maybe reflect more on his artistic career and less on the day-to-day of survival. And so, whether you're a Billboard Top 100 artist, a legacy songwriter, or someone very early in your career, this is meaningful data. This is meaningful revenue for you to capture. And that's really what I want to emphasize, is at the end of the day, we're not just talking about metadata. We're not just talking about bits traversing the web and users in far off places uploading derivatives of your composition or your recording. This is a human thing. There are people, artists, that are affected by this and could be positively affected by this if we take the steps necessary to really find these things at scale and bring that data, bring that monetization to them, and allow them to benefit from that. So I always want to keep those artists central to our focus and central to the work that we do every day, because without them, of course, as Music Biz will frequently tell you, and is absolutely true, without the artists, we do not have the music that enlivens us every day. We do not have the industry that brings that to the world. So with that, I will, take that into our takeaways. How do we take that motivation and actualize it for those that we care about, including the artists that we work with? The first thing to remember is that this is not something you should continue to ignore. These are not pennies and nickels that are left under the rug and will buy you a Tootsie Roll. These are many, many thousands of pieces of content that, when taken together, are 10% or more of your revenue that you could be leaving behind. The best part about this is it's already there. We don't have to encourage new user behavior. We don't have to build another marketplace. This is happening, and it's happening every minute at a scale that we cannot even imagine. So we need to turn our focus to capturing as much of that as possible, and really to maybe even take that to the next level. There are so many forms of this content that it's going to be a constantly evolving challenge to address, and that it's not as though there's something that you can do once and wash your hands of it and walk away. This is something that you need to be vigilant for and creative to address on a very regular basis in order to capture these benefits. And then, most importantly, when we're able to identify this content and properly monetize it, user-generated content becomes a virtuous cycle for all of us. It's a flywheel of artist and fan engagement that previous generations of artists could only really dream of, right? The idea that and you can see how many people have been touched by your work, and more importantly, have been touched to the degree that they felt compelled to film it and share it with their friends, or to even offer their own interpretation of it via a cover or a remix. These are not passive fans. These are not passive listeners who might have found you via Pandora radio station, or are listening in the background and may not distinguish the content. These are your super fans. These are the people who felt, again, so affected by the music that not only did they listen to it, they felt compelled to take an action to contribute to it in some way. And when you consider it that way, I definitely believe this is something that, as an industry, as artists and the folks who work with them, we should be encouraging this. And there are many ways to encourage this, as simple as reminding your fans that they are at a special event and they should capture this. For those who cannot be there for whatever reason, they can encourage this by offering remix or sing-along contests. I mean, I'm no expert, but I imagine that there are a number of ways, creative ways, artists and their teams can not only receive the information of their super fans and the adoration, but encourage it and engage with it in ways that are meaningful for those fans too. So I hope through the course of this presentation, everybody here can be as excited as we are about this particular form of user-generated content and the opportunity that is before us, and that perhaps you're beginning to think like we are, this user-generated content on social media can form another pillar for our industry, and for our artists to stand on, that is based on authentic fan engagement and behaviors that are already taking place in the market. So with that, I will conclude, and I encourage anybody here to please engage with us in this conversation. Tell us of your experiences, tell us of your challenges, tell us what excites you, and please don't hesitate to reach out and take part in this conversation with us. So my email is here, and I'm sure we'll be sharing it afterwards as well. And with that, I would like to open our conversation to the audience present.
And I just want to extend our thanks from the music biz side. Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you to the Sleuth team for today's presentation. Really glad to give a spotlight to this and to talk through UGC under a deep dive like this. Folks, if we have any questions that are kind of lingering in the last few minutes here, feel free to add them through the Q&A box on your Zoom dashboard. Anything that we don't get to during the live session, we'll be sure to connect your question with Ibrahim and get you an answer with it on the back end of today's presentation. Our first question comes in and says, do you see Song Sleuth partnering with platforms like Meta or PROs to help with their tech limitations, or is it more about serving clients who already have deals with platforms like this?
Yeah, that's a great question, and thank you, Steve, for that. Certainly, we want to engage with everybody in addressing this and making sure that the data is complete and flowing to the right places. In that respect, we have already been engaged with a few of the DSP partners to supplement maybe and to test some of their new offerings in that respect. We are typically working with folks that already have engagements with those DSPs to find and make claims on their own content. And we also work with people who partner with additional distributors or MCNs and folks like that for their social media distributions and monetization. So really our aim is to be, again, a plugin, a supplement to whatever folks are able to do today, and hopefully to add to that suite of capabilities in whatever way we can.
All right, our next question comes in through the chat, and someone had offered some insight on this too, but maybe you can add something, Ibrahim. Samuel asked, is there any rights management on TikTok outside of distributors uploading sounds and getting data back? Someone in the chat mentions media match on the TikTok side, but they're not sure if it's for everyone to use or just specifically for labels and publishers.
Yeah, that is a great question. Media Match is open to more than just labels and publishers. I can confirm that. Excuse me. Unfortunately, however, Media Match is really focused on just the sound recording identifications and claims at the moment. For instance, when you try to make a manual claim within Media Match today, one of the first instructions it will tell you is this is not to be used for covers. And so, our goal is to work with our partners on the rights holding side as well as the platform side to make sure that we can close that gap as quickly as possible.
Our next question comes in from Benjamin. In which countries can you apply your insights in Song Sleuth's business? Can you ensure that this data gets to CMOs in countries where music publishers can't access the content ID system for YouTube or other systems? Or is it possible to get this data and use it with CMOs outside of North America?
Absolutely. And so I can say that we have our ability to cover the global kind of upload and consumption spread of these platforms. We can work within any territory spread and work within the nuances of those territories in order to make sure that the claims are flowing through to the proper folks, including PROs and local societies. We are engaged with a number of those, and we work quite closely. There is no issue I can expect that our claims on one side and moving that data to a PRO on the other, that should be very straightforward, and it is as robust as we can make it today.
Next question comes in through the chat. Bruce asks, can you give an overview of the rights an artist would need to control to benefit from Song Sleuth services?
Absolutely. So the main thing is, you can imagine anybody who is able to leverage Content ID today, as just a very simple example, would be able to make use of our services. So those are people who control the sound recording or who have a stake in the composition. Those would be the primary folks that we go after. Now, with that said, of course, these insights and this volume of UGC data is quite valuable for many people and stakeholders in the industry, including artists, artist managers and their teams, promoters and things like that. And so we definitely want to make sure that when we're working with an artist or a rights holder, that data is then available to as many people in the value chain as possible. So although we need to work with a copyright holder or administrator in order to effectuate a claim, we can also work with other stakeholders in the service of providing them with useful data and insights.
And in a similar vein, next question comes in from Amanda. Do you need to control the CMS for your service, or is this a complement service if anyone already manages the CMS?
Absolutely, and we can work in either scenario. And so in some cases, folks that have their own CMS, again, look to us as a supplement, and we can work within that side by side with existing teams. Similarly, we also work with folks that do work with an administrator, a third-party administrator. And of course, between the rights holder and the third-party administrator, we are in very, very close contact to make sure that the administrator receives the data they need to make the claims on a regular basis. And the data and the insights flow through everybody involved as smoothly as possible.
We have two questions that kind of dovetail with one another. The first being, is Song Sleuth able to identify sped up or slowed derivations accurately? And then as a whole, with the content identification, what is Song Sleuth's bar for accuracy?
Great questions. On the sped up and slowed down versions, yes, that is one aspect of the derivative content that we know poses a challenge for some existing identification methods, such as audio fingerprinting. There are many other examples I can give, such as vocoder vocals, or obviously pitch modulated and things like that. Important to note here that we want to try to do the highest quality of accuracy and service that is possible. I'm sure many folks here have experienced the kind of over aggressiveness perhaps of some identifications and inaccurate claims being made in other cases. At Song Sleuth, let me emphasize, our data and our goal of service is 100% accuracy. And we achieve this through our kind of novelty in technology and in process with our operational team and our team of music experts. And so before any manual claim is made or any manual claiming data is sent to a third-party administrator, we know with 100% certainty what work or what sound recording is in a piece of content, where it exists, and to whom it belongs. And so we will not take a less than certain identification into manual claims in any scenario.
Our next question comes in from Benjamin. How can publishers work with you to implement your products, and how does it work financially?
Absolutely. So, we want to make this service as frictionless as possible for anyone to be involved and to take advantage of this opportunity. We, really are just looking for the easiest way of partnering with a publisher or a label or another rights holder as we can find. And this means meeting them where they are at the stage of their technological life cycle or what have you. If we're able to receive a catalog via CWR or API, fantastic. That makes our job quite easy, and that's really all we need to get going. We might also ask, for their experiences in the UGC world and how their content is delineated in that world. But really, we just need repertoire data to get started, and obviously permission from the rights holder and the ability to effectuate the claim in some way. Because one other important thing that I'll note is at Song Sleuth, we want to make sure that this data, this royalty streams find the right home. And we do not get paid until that happens. And so we work on a commission basis with our partners, and we want to make sure that we're providing data that is actionable immediately, trackable, and easily maintained. And so if we are able, for instance, to work with our rights holders directly and keep an eye on these claims, if you will, for the course of our service, then that speaks to the maintenance and kind of vigilance that we provide in that respect. So if you're a rights holder, you have a repertoire that you're ready to share and a manual claiming system that is gathering dust, we can get going right away.
Take a couple more questions here. Next comes up from James. What makes Song Sleuth proprietary tech that finds additional UGC matches better than its competitors?
Very interesting question. I will say that when we began our technological development and thinking about this as a service, we came in with full recognition and experience of a number of the existing technologies on platforms today, and an awareness of the technologies that are out there from third parties, which many companies use for assisting in this issue, this opportunity. And so when we began, we wanted to make sure that we were doing something distinct and supplementary to those efforts. So what that means is recognizing the types of UGC that are slipping through the cracks and building our custom models to address those pieces of UGC. The way I like to think about it is leveraging our experience in the industry and with music data thus far, leveraging our experience across the team with our number of music geeks. I think we have right now pretty much every genre of fan on our team and almost a dozen languages covered that would encompass almost 90% of the YouTube or Meta audience. We are obsessed with music, and we are obsessed with the creative interpretations of that music. And so we want to bring that obsession to our machine learning models in various capacities. And so really, I think about it as, we're building machine learning models that are the biggest live music geek in the world. And not only that, they're the biggest Beyonce live music geek in the world. And so what does that machine need to do to find as much of that Beyonce live music at scale and sift through it to achieve the goal of getting all of it and getting as much as possible. So that's I think one of the major things that distinguishes us and puts us as, again, a supplemental capacity to all the good work that's being done today.
Next question comes in from Ama. A lot of black box content on UGC platforms is associated with writers unaffiliated with PROs. and sometimes content is paid incorrectly or matched incorrectly with content ID. What does Song Sleuth do to make sure that smaller unaffiliated writers get their cut from these tracks as well?
Hmm. And Alma, this is definitely something I think I would love to follow up with you on offline as well. I think there's a lot to discuss here. Um, Principally, again, our goal is making the correct identifications with the most complete and accurate metadata possible, ensuring that hopefully all of the writers involved are able to capture this opportunity and receive the benefits. So those unaffiliated with PROs, there are a few I can probably think of that we work with, are hopefully receiving the benefit of this service via their distributors or their publishing partners if they are affiliated with one of those. And really, if there are niche cases that exist outside of that, definitely something that we want to make sure is properly addressed, and hopefully with more details we can make sure that's the case.
All right, and our last question before we wrap up this afternoon, there's a couple of questions from folks who are looking for demo information, cost information. We'll connect you with the Song Sleuth team to get you more in-depth answers after we wrap up here. But our last question for the live session here, does Song Sleuth do the actual manual claiming on any platforms, or is the information passed on to the client to do so?
Yeah, and in that respect, we again can meet you wherever you are. And so, in some cases we see that even for extremely established, companies that, there is a desire, we supplement existing efforts. And so we may be doing a lot of this work as part of their larger team. So we do make the claims ourselves, we maintain those claims, et cetera. And then in other cases, there are folks that are have the ability to do this internally, and we make it as easy and as quick as possible for them to do that by providing them all the requisite data at their fingertips in order to make a manual claim within seconds, as our team does. And so again, it's about empowerment, and that's what we strive for.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Ibrahim, not just to present today, but to field everyone's questions. And thank you, everyone who attended, whether you'll be with us just for today or for the rest of our webinar series. We're glad you're here. Thank you for your attention, your time, and your interaction with Ibrahim and the Song Sleuth team. We are grateful to have you all here today. Thank you again, and we hope to welcome you to our next event. Thanks, Ibrahim.
Extremely grateful. Thank you very much, everybody. Hope to be in touch soon.
Everyone take care.